So I've got some feedback from Shopify on the app submission.
But you passed the first automated check, right? So these are more custom checks. There's been a human looking at it.
I think so. So I'm not actually sure what kind of checks happened, because some of those errors that they are actually also automated kind of I don't know. It's like weird. It's basically everything that they commented looks like a person was physically checking that, but they were not caught automatically, or I don't know. It's actually a little bit weird. So let me share, and I'll just go through what they had there. Just to remind quickly, so this is the app which has some quite simple functionality to add the banners to the Shopify store, to the front end of the Shopify. And the features include adding the banners which can be targeted or scheduled on the site. And so this app was submitted to Shopify end of last week on, I think it was Friday. And then yesterday morning, which it was Thursday, so almost a week has passed, I got an email back with the comments that I needed to fix. I thought that this was kind of good news, because usually they send an email back within about like 1 or 2 days with some technical checks that they say you need to fix. But this time it was more about, like, it looks like a check was done by a human, which means that we're maybe one step further. So the first one is they're saying that the app hasn't implemented authentication through auth correctly and cannot be reinstalled. And they're sharing, like, what I like about this point is they are sharing a screenshot of the error for every error. I know this one. So this actually happens when authorization of the app fails when someone tries to install it. And this usually happens when the app was not, when it was not marked in the database as uninstalled. And then the shop tries to reinstall it. So this was actually the issue I was battling. And I know that this actually works. So this is one of the problems that I'm not sure how to fix, because I have been battling the problem with reinstalling the app. And now whenever you uninstall it, the Shopify app actually gets information back on that the app is uninstalled. In the database, you have a sign that it uninstalled it, and you can successfully reinstall it. So this is something that looks a little bit weird, and maybe I'll need to ask support about that. I'm not sure.
So you can't replicate that error if you do the same thing yourself? It works?
I didn't try it after the email yet, but this was actually the problem that I was facing, and this was fixed. So I could successfully uninstall the app and just install it back again on the test store. So that worked fine, and I checked in the database that everything actually looks correctly. So the second one, this is actually easy. So this is something that I avoided intentionally after reading everything that I could about that. So basically the Shopify app has to have some endpoints to return. At first, it should return the JSON with the data about the customer, whatever we're collecting from the store. And then the second is just to delete the data about the customer. The tricky part here is that our app doesn't actually collect any customer data. So the only thing is that these webhooks, they should exist, and they should return like response to 100 that's like, okay, we accepted it, that would be done. And then I guess the first one should return an empty response, and the second one should return just like, okay, will do type of response. So the third one, this is actually something new that I'm not that I haven't dived into deeply. So it says that the app is currently using Script Tag API, and we need to update it to theme app extensions to ensure compatibility with Online Store 2.0 themes. Yeah, so there are some theme extensions functionality in Shopify, and what they refer to as us using Shopify tag API is basically we're installing a script tag that would actually be using like showing the banners on the site, and instead of using script tag API, or maybe together with using script tag APIs, this should actually exist as a theme extension in Shopify. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works like entirely, so I will go through documentation. Like I hope that we just need to use some other API to trigger that or something like that. Yeah, so this is one I'm really not sure. So this is one of the things where like Shopify ecosystem gets updated, and the proper ways of doing stuff, they kind of change over time, and we're not using the most up-to-date way of managing script tags. So yeah, we'll have to do it somehow through the theme extension. So then this one I think is kind of interesting. So they're asking to allow merchants to preview edits in the theme editor app section before saving and publishing the changes to the storefront components. What? Yeah. So nice. So this time they even have like a video.
Yeah.
So let's see if
it's quite impressive feedback, I must say. That's the most detail I've seen in these. So it's detailed like
and it's also with like a lot of so basically they want to see some sort of preview of how it looks in the store before actually publishing live, right? So like it would be easy to do using just the basic functionality, right? Because we have like a link targeting, and we could add, like, if you put a preview URL parameter, you would see the banner like always, for example, for the users to preview. But then the problem would be that you would preview it like only visually how it looks on the site, and that would not allow to test the actual logic of displaying the banner.
Right, yeah.
Which maybe it's not.
Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, maybe that would be enough. But then actually we can use just like a preview to a preview.
What does the help document they link to say? Was there any help in that, what it needs to do?
So a help document, let's see. Yeah, so it's something generic, I think.
Yeah, that's very generic, yeah.
But I think it could be something like that. So we could implement just another helper parameter that's just show right in the interface that go to your storefront and put in the preview URL, and that would show your inactive banners, for example, something like that. Or like enable preview, and that would open your store. Right. So we actually know. So we actually know the store that installed the app, right? So we can just add a button to preview whatever you're editing right now. It would save an inactive banner as it is, and it would launch another tab with the storefront page with with the needed parameters and show the banner.
But it's not saved, so it doesn't go on the live site, but only on that one.
Yeah, so we have a flag for showing, for activating the banner. So you can set up everything but not activate it. What we could do is save it as inactive, but make it available through the preview link. So that it would work kind of like that. Or even just add some banner ID onto the storefront URL as a parameter, so that this ID would actually request a specific banner for preview. In case you have like one banner live and you want to preview a different one, you could click a link to actually generate a preview for a specific banner. That's interesting. This one, I think this is valuable in terms of actually making it better for the user, and not only
definitely,
and not only making it technically better. So the next one is. This one is weird because I thought that this worked fine. So this is also a video, and this one I watched. Basically, the desktop version of the banner, when they resized the video, it didn't change in the size, especially when they changed the width. So you can see that it's being cut out from the sides, which is not
Oh, yeah.
Which is not how it's intended. So it actually what I actually was doing was it has to narrow down and then collapse into the mobile version when it becomes really smaller. But this is just some CSS bug that is easy to fix. So this one is like this one I like. This one is just a bug that they found. So
again, I'm impressed with how thoroughly they test and record. Yeah, it's cool.
So then they asked to include screenshots of apps Lighthouse performance score results in review instructions. What is that? Okay. Okay, got it. So basically 2 screenshots with the app and without the app. So basically they want to see if the app affects the performance of the storefront. Which I think is great because or maybe not. So this is something that we will see like in action, and this is something that I was a little bit worried about the app, like in general, because one of the parts of the score, at least what affects the SEO, is kind of the move of the content, and especially when the banner is added on the top, that would move the content a little bit further down, and that should not happen, at least like while the user is exploring the page. So that should be so that should be happening kind of quickly. So maybe what we could do is I think that just faster speed, like loading speed, is like the only way to go here, to just place something as quickly as possible, and then I mean like some space for the banner, and then load it into that space if needed, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we discussed, right? To not.
Yeah.
I mean, the banner should load as quickly as possible, also, but to have some. Blocker of that space there.
Exactly, because like the worst thing I know for SEO is, for example, when you're reading some article and then the article actually expands for half a page and then something loads there as an ad or something. And then like the point 7 is update static image to meet our requirements. Okay, let's see.
I don't remember what we put there. Okay, it's too generic.
Yeah. So the static image on the top. So this is something that's you kind of want to have a mix between the actual screenshot or like whatever the kind of branding side of the app would be, and that is basically they didn't like it. That's kind of easy because that's not coding, that's just updating the listing. And then they didn't like the introduction, and the introduction I think is also so this was some new part that they added. So when we tried to submit the app like 6 months ago or so, they actually didn't have this section. And this one showed up just right now.
Is it that it needs to be 2 sentences?
And I used only 1 sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also easy. So then, I guess what this means is that like point number 1 is weird because I think that actually works. Point number 2 is easy. That's just adding some webhooks that do nothing because we don't process the data. And then the number 3 is probably the actually like somewhat actually complex, because that would mean potentially rebuilding some part of like how our like putting the script on the site, how it actually works.
Yeah.
And then the rest is actually either bugs or just doing some checks on our side or something like that. So I think that's.
It doesn't look too scary.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
at least for me, that's not gonna do it.
Yeah, I think it's at least clear what's like what is needed, and it's at least like some of the feedback is actually helpful. I did start to make the second app, which kind of does a similar thing, but with like the sticky call to action for the website. I think it's not gonna be. Like, I think that those issues are not going to be critical at the very least, because all of them are sort of isolated in a way. So if there's any overlap, then I can just implement the same fixes for the second app. And any issues with the listing actually, don't affect the second app because there we don't have any content yet. So that's, I think, should work. Yeah, so that's kind of it.
Yeah, one step forward, I think, and very clear what needs to be updated. And I think, so I've been through this a couple of times, it feels like if we fix this, there's not more things that will come up if we don't introduce any new bugs. They've sort of gone through it all now, so this is what needs to be fixed, and then it will be approved. They don't have any other major concerns.
Yeah, hopefully. So like the only part I'm a little bit worried about is like one of these points, like authentication, which I was sure that this actually worked, and the way I tested it, it actually worked. So maybe we can just try to do it with separate accounts or separately, like you and me, and see if that would work correctly or not. And then, and then we can try resubmit and see what would happen. Yeah.
And it said they need to have a response within 14 days, right? Otherwise they close it. It said there in the end, I think.
That's a good question because I didn't read. So, okay. Okay.
I think it said in the end of the email.
You will need to resubmit the app for review. Okay, that's weird. So it says requires a response within 14 days. If you do not respond to this email within 14 days, you will need to resubmit the app for review. Multiple resubmissions of the app may result in a review suspension. Okay, that's interesting. So that means that we don't need to resubmit the app. We just need to reply to the email that everything's fixed, and then that would be done. That is a very good. That is a very good deadline. That's like we actually have
incentive.
Yeah, we actually have only 12 days to fix 8 points, half of which are not super clear. Cool. I mean, some of them are actually not that easy to implement. Like the preview feature, that would be like a kind of a full built-in feature in the app. So that's like that means increasing the speed of development like quite a lot.
But isn't there any? So the documentation was quite generic, but it feels like there should be some standard way of doing the preview stuff that they have.
I mean, it depends on the app functionality, right? So we are serving a banner that you need to preview, and like that's up to the app to define the logic of when the banner shows up. So that's I think that's on us. But anyway, that doesn't sound as hard as potentially like doing the theme extensions or fixing the authentication, because I'm not 100% sure how that would work. But anyway, we can get going with that, because I think it's clear what to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Then then see you later on whatever update we have next.
Yeah, latest in 12 days.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Okay.